Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I am Peyman and I'm joined here by my co-host, Mr. Timothy Knight. Tim, how's it going?
It's a good day, Payman. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's been a productive week for us, or for me and those on my side of the fence. So we'll share about it when we wander through today's episode.
This is a hallmark episode. This is the first time we're meeting virtually since actually meeting in real life.
Yeah, that's true. We've actually been doing the show almost a whole year. We've known each other since I think June last year. So it was only at the Capitalism and Morality Conference that we actually met physically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're taller in real life.
It's strange. On the internet, we're the same height. We have the same head size. Yeah.
I know. Like we look exactly the same except for when we don't.
Yeah. It's one thing I noticed when I went to the revision conference out in Ontario.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, wow, you're a lot shorter. And I'm like, holy crap, you're like a monster. You're way taller.
Yeah, it's all that good Ontario food.
If you ever meet Rene DeVries, he's like 7 foot 6 inches tall. He's like a Frankenstein. I
Picks
hope he's not
bananas.
watching this.
He picks bananas. Yeah.
So we don't have Andre Maloche with us this week. He's at a conference, but he will join us next week unless he decides to leave us permanently.
Well, there's no money in it, so who knows?
No, there's money coming. Yeah, ye have little faith.
You have little faith. Yeah, there's digital money coming.
Well, but in truth, in all fairness, whatever money comes in, we'll just probably have to give to Carney's coffers anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. I just pay my rent and keep me in coffee, and I'll be okay. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll cave. It's okay.
Yeah, I can't wait until we get some money coming in. I was doing a podcast with JP Berg. He's like, yeah, I get a couple of $1,000 for my work online. I'm like, what the hell? Are you getting money?
Are you
I'm not getting
kidding?
any. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, there's this. This is, what do they call this? A passion project. Right. This is the thing that people say when they're not making any money in spite of being led to believe, well, most often deceiving themselves to believe, not that I'm talking to myself, that there's actually money coming. So there's not. There's not. So if your name's on the list and you're getting money, it's because you're shilling for them.
Mind you, we will change our positions on a dime if money starts coming in. I mean, we'll be all pro climate change.
Oh, buddy, I'll start wearing the blue shirt. Hook me up. Just get me some money.
If anybody from the Conservative Party is listening, $50. That's
Right?
all it takes. Just
Right?
send it. Care of
Yeah.
Cerberus at the Improv.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe like Cerberus on the backbench.
Cerberus for conservative Cerberus.
That's going to get hard to say real fast.
Yeah. Squirrel Nuts, thanks for joining in. Carney's stakeholders and fellow statesmen, F them all. Profanity notwithstanding, yeah, same sentiment here. I don't know about you, Tim. You're Irish. Maybe you can swear more liberally.
Square it more liberally.
So.
Yeah, screw them all. Yeah, screw them all. And the best way to screw them all is to read more Martin Luther King Jr. Because anything else I say beyond that is going to get me in front of a tribunal.
Interesting you mentioned that. We did an episode of People's Parliament this morning, and we were talking about the tribunals. Well, it'll get released probably tomorrow. Go check it out. We went over the Judges Act.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Let's see what we got in store for us for the audience today. Zoom in so you guys don't go blind.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I, as we mentioned, we were at the Capitalism and Morality Conference. And so as to not throw you under the bus, I'll start the conversation. I was actually a speaker. This Capitalism and Morality is hosted by Jayant Bhandari. He's, you could call him a libertarian. And he's got these events. They're annual conferences, and then weekly they meet up for dinner, and it's like a gathering, and they discuss politics. most of the people there were either libertarians or conservatives. There was a couple of people from the U.S. Maxime Bernier gave a speech. John Eady of your association, he gave a fantastic speech, and I gave one as well.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the event?
I went expecting to hear about capitalism and morality, and I heard about philosophical approaches to government models, philosophical approaches to business models, but I didn't hear very much about capitalism, except at the dinner before, in which the speaker thoroughly bashed capitalism for 90 minutes, almost nonstop, which was an eye opener for me. So, a conference? No, not a conference, a symposium, more, and then Saturday with all the speakers, and they're all great. They're all really great, and they have a variety of different topics. Like you said, though, the bulk of them were libertarian, so the flavor was very libertarian, and it felt more like a forum because the audience took the liberty of injecting and asking questions and turning it into an open forum format, which I like. It's not what I was expecting, but it was very much an eye opener, and I do want to participate in more in the future.
One thing I really let's go point for point. The one thing that I liked was people confronted each other, and there was no censorship. So
Yep.
take Albert the night before, he made some comments criticizing the West. Let's be honest, white people, and he got a
Yep.
lot of pushback, and there was
Yep.
no attempt to say no, like you don't have a right to criticize him.
Yeah, and that's true. So that's one of the very refreshing things about that environment is even among people in that same segment of this political spectrum, so say, had significant differences of opinions, and they felt comfortable enough to say so out loud. And I thought that was quite refreshing because the speaker would make comment or comments, and then someone would speak up and say, "Well, I got this, but that, and this, and that." And then there was this little miniature, 3 minutes. I enjoyed that active process. So I hope to see more of that in the future.
So Squirrel Nuts, thank you very much for reposting the stream. If anybody's watching, please repost it. We want to double our viewer count from 2 to 4. It goes a long way.
Because 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and then what's that law? Morris law? The integrated circuit development law.
I think that's Moore's law, where
Moore's law.
processing power
Moore, not
doubles every
Morris.
18
That's right.
months.
The doubling and the doubling and the doubling. It's like a 1980s shampoo commercial, and then she told 2 people, and they told 2 people, and they told 2 people. Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. It's not that I wasn't alive in the 80s, but
yeah, it was an early 80s shampoo commercial. I don't remember the company, but and of course this is back when TVs were, square, and the resolution was like 240 or something. So then there would be the girl is talking to another girl, and then you're zooming out as they talk to more girls. So right, this growth thing begins to happen. It's all squares, and then by the time it's all done, they're all the size of a pixel, but all you hear is this gaggle of girl voices, and it's just it's shocking. I was traumatized, really.
You had me at girls.
Right?
I stopped listening right after you said
it was a brilliant little piece of marketing, and just stuck in my head ever since. So, but that's the idea. So yes, and then that's the one. Yeah, that's the one, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it encapsulates a marketing ideology in the 80s, which where in the 90s you start hearing people use the word buzz, right? Creating buzz, word of mouth, right? So it's in the 80s is when marketing really got its legs underneath it, because a lot of teenagers from the 70s were now old enough to participate as consumers. So the marketing, remember the Mad Men phenomena of the 80s, right? And then the MTV era of Mad Men phenomena of the 50s and 60s, and then the Coke commercial, Coke. If I could teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, that's the Coke commercial from the late 70s. And then the MTV era of the 80s, and my generation's caught up in all of that. Really, it's anyway, completely off topic.
No, it's fine. It's always nice to let the audience hijack the episode right at the beginning.
Right? Yes, Madge, we're soaking in it. Who does
Thanks
that?
Thanks to the repos remanded. You're reading Wolf's Madge and Palmolive
Yes.
dish soap. Soft on your hands, tough on dishes, or something like that.
Or something like that. So this is two ladies at a ladies spa, and one is the client and one is the hostess. And so while she's doing her hands, one hand, her other hand is dipping in like a soaking dish, right? For like fingernail soakings, only it's palm olive soap. Usually it would be like an acetone blend or something like to loosen up the paint on the nails. It's friggin' soap. You're soaking in it, Madge. Anyway.
How far do you want to take this? Are we going to do that?
Well, Wolf keeps putting them up there. I'm going to keep batting them back.
What was that other one? Can you pass the pudding? Can you pass the
Grey Poupon?
Yeah, the guy, the
Excuse me,
redneck.
sir. Do you have any Grey Poupon? These are moments. What's another one? Where's the beef?
Oh, that
Right?
one.
Where's the beef? Right? There are so many incredible moments captured by television and marketers through the ages of TV. And when you get into the internet, a lot of that is lost. So then all of a sudden you come into social media and the virality, when somebody says something remarkably clever or very on point, right, hits the nail on the head, and then that becomes a viral moment. That excites in this younger generation the same thing that really high quality commercials did to us, my generation, when we were kids.
What is the advertisement I'm thinking of where the guy says something offside and the woman faints and the server is fanning her?
Uh,
He says,
I
"Can you
recognize.
pass
I
the?"
remember the picture. I don't remember the content.
Come on, Wolf. You're always on top of this stuff, man. You're slipping, bro.
Right.
While Wolf gets his act together and
I've
figures out
fallen
what it
and
is.
I can't get up.
Yeah, that was in that one.
Yeah.
All right, what were we talking about? Capitalism and morality. Okay, this is what I was going to
Capitalism
say.
and morality. Yeah.
The one thing I noticed, everything went really. Oh wow, the one time when Wolf concedes something, you disappoint me, Wolf.
Didn't happen.
The one thing at the conference that it did get out of control, and it's indicative of what's going on in society, is Israel. Like people got very angry and very vocal. They're either
Yes.
pro Palestine or pro Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. And which is interesting because, like I said, the bulk of the attendants and guests and speakers are of a libertarian mindset. And the mere, maybe it's just my own reaction, but the mere discussion of Israel or the Jews or Gaza or anything that moved in that territory at all, the hair instantly galvanizes. So you're like, oh, here we go. So yeah, it was really something to watch people get exceptionally animated and immediately. No ramping, it was immediate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
People
that
have
is true.
very definite opinions. Yeah.
What else did they? The only other one I saw where everybody was in control, like even if they were confrontational, they weren't combative, except that at the very end when that gentleman laid into Mr. Bandari for China. I think he was
Yeah.
really anti-China on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was and he actually, yeah, so Giant, who's been to China on and off for 16 plus years. So I would think that when he says something, he knows what he's talking about, and he's going to be unbiased because as he says about his childhood home, it was a hellhole. So he has no apparent reason to paint things in anything other image than the way he sees it, because that's part of his presentation. This is how I saw it, and he doesn't flavor it. So while he painted a apparently favorable picture of the development of China, what he's really saying is the people continue to improve their personal approach, right? They continue to give their best even under what the government has done, and that as an overall effect, the entire that culture is lifted up. So that's what he's discussing. But the young fella in the back thinks that he's saying good things about the CCP, and he's not. Right? It's the same as where we're here in Canada and we say, yeah, but Canadians and the government, they're not the same thing. Right. And so we will readily make that argument. We do this for Americans down the South all the time. Right. We can't stand your government, but the people are okay. Right. right? We like the Americans, and we do the same thing. Giant's doing this about China, and the young fellow back is like, you are categorically wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And I thought that was really interesting because he simply refused to give up, even to the point of accusing Giant of you know shilling for the CCP.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the problem in life. I always try not to get like too attached to an argument that you know is wrong or might be wrong.
Yeah. And Giant was right. It's we're in a public forum and we're discussing things on a larger scale or a more general scale because even though it's capitalism and morality, we're still having a philosophical discussion. It's still a philosophical discussion. So when you move to taking personal pot shots at somebody, that's not Queensbury rules, right? It's not cricket. So, probably shouldn't do that. Yeah. But yeah, it was exciting. It was great. And I went with Barbara Bednarski, and she's the CFO for the association, and we had a fantastic time. We met Doug and his lovely wife, met yourself. Um, John Eady was fantastic to catch up with John Eady because he's always great. And it was, yeah, it was a really great event. I spent a lot of time with Max, and had a really great time. Um, Rick Rule and his wife had dinner with him afterwards. That was really interesting because you got to hear, you get to speak with people in that echelon and from that American view, right? Which helps to refresh, right? It tests because over the years, I've developed a very tunnel vision approach. There's no way around it, right? What I like and what works, I keep, and what I don't like, I throw away. And then someone like Rick comes in and his wife and the other guests who were sitting there with us at dinner afterwards say, there is also this. I'm like, oh, and it's like a completely moved outside of my radar, but it absolutely affects my view. So it was really refreshing to bump into people like that. Yeah.
I want to get your take on what happened on yours. So before we get to that, Wolf says, did anyone have those discussions preface any interactions by referencing the principle of charity? I'm guessing not.
The the Wolf, you probably appreciate one of my interpretations. There are libertarians and then there are libertines, right? And the libertines want their liberty, but they don't want you to get in their way. And if their liberties take a little bit of advantage of your liberties, they're okay with that. So some members of the audience were more libertine than libertarian, right? So that's the principle of charity. I don't, I don't, I don't think. Well, Giant should, I suppose, expect us to interact vocally and like a live forum in that relatively undisciplined fashion that did happen. Should expect it. So Wolf raises an interesting point. It's just make a general rules, right? So these are the rules for the weekend. Principle of charity, and lay it down at that. Because yes, that would be a very good overarching rule, so that we could have hard discussion, right? Ask difficult questions without taking personal shots, right? Because that's what the conservative likes to say that we do. Oh, we want the hard discussion. We want to say the rough thing, but we're not going to take a personal shot at you because we want the dialogue. Except the far left wants to take the personal shot. So you're right. The principle of charity would be a very useful thing to open up that discussion.
So I'm not going to put it up there, Wolf, but Wolf perfectly described what the principle of charity is. Going back to what we were talking about, how was your conversation on your end? I'll tell you how it ended with mine. So I was next sitting opposite Rick Rule's wife, and me, her, and Doug were having a conversation. And then a couple of other people came in and we started talking, and then the bottles of wine kept coming in and I got progressively more drunk, and I found this American chap. This is probably like midnight, and we started talking about Donald Trump, and the conversation took a turn for the MAGA. And we were just talking about how they tried to assassinate Trump and how we want justice and how we hope that we get rid of all this deep state. How did you guys talk about this on your end or no?
The At about the 1 hour mark, 1.5 hour mark after we sat down, joined you at dinner, I began to see the the wine was loosening discipline, verbal discipline. So I went, I think it's time to go. So yeah, so we left before everybody got loosened up from the liquor. So we were long gone before Rick went on about um, the assassination attempt.
No, we were there until about 1 a.m.
Yeah,
I left Max.
I think the problem with adding alcohol to the mix is it's really only good after the first couple of drinks, and then you need to like back off because a lot of people who attend things like this have some pretty remarkable experiences that make lasting impressions on them. And some of these impressions that they discipline carefully because you can't exactly say this in public. But then the liquor loosens that muscle and you start talking. And I'm like, I think we're not going to be here for that.
I will say this: after the alcohol, people stopped talking about Israel Palestine. So,
Well, it's because there are other punching bags, right? There are other punching bags. So, yeah. And yes, and Max had to catch an 8 a.m. plane to Manitoba. So, yeah, there was
hey,
that.
Barb. I went back the next day to pick up my car because I had to leave it in the parkade, and I got a ticket. But I figured I'm downtown. I went and I joined up with them at the picnic, so I saw them the day after as
Well,
well.
you did, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because our understanding was he caught an 8 a.m. plane to Manitoba.
That must have been brutal. Leighton Gray was supposed to be as a speaker as well. We can go into that, but so John Eady was a replacement for Leighton Gray.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Air Canada strike, they couldn't get him in until 1 a.m. I mean, imagine flying into the airport at 1 a.m. and you got to get up the next day at like 6 to prepare. It's a no-go.
No, thank you. No. Barbara and I drove in. We left town 1:30ish, and took us about 2 hours to get in from the city, and we're only an hour and a little bit away. So we drove in and got to the hotel, and well, lucky for us, everything was relatively close. So, and once you get into the city, particularly the downtown core, you park your car. Right. And if you can't walk there, you Uber or you take a cab because it's pointless to try to drive your own vehicle downtown.
Yeah, I don't even do it. But I'll say this: the morning of this was a Saturday morning. I picked up Doug from the RV park in Park Royal, West Vancouver.
Yeah,
I picked him up at 6 o'clock from the entrance of the RV park, and to get over the bridge and get all the way to Pender in Georgia, so right at the start of downtown, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You're kidding. Doug said it was fast. He said it was astonishingly fast considering it was a Saturday morning.
No, like I'm not even exaggerating. 6:00, I picked them up. 6:05, and I had forgotten that was theoretically possible because it usually takes an hour and 15 minutes.
It usually takes an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah. I think Doug and I are making a joke about Vancouver has one way in and one way out, and everything inside of it's a rat's nest. Yeah.
I hate that city. I absolutely abhor it.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next topic?
We should.
I notice you're looking at your watch. You got somewhere to be, buddy?
I've got a Samsung Galaxy watch. It's about 5 years old, and the battery's starting to die. And when it dies, like losing capacity over time, right? So it says it's fully charged, and then 10 minutes later, it's like, I need to turn off the high. Oh man, I don't feel like spending $500 on a new digital watch.
It's 2025. You could probably get one for like 99 cents.
No.
Or you could just use your phone.
No, or you can just use your phone. But I like the idea of having a watch, particularly because I use the watch specifically to monitor my heart. Right. So this came very handy after the heart attack. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not inclined to spend $900 on a frickin' Samsung watch.
That'll give you a heart attack itself.
That'll give me a heart attack right there. That's right. So anyway, I'm complete I'm not looking at the phone, my watch to get us off the air. That's not what I'm doing. It was just knee jerking every time the phone beeps.
I
I'm like, oh, is this the heart attack? Not
I feel
now.
the
What about
pressure.
now? No, is this the heart attack? No, not now.
All right, next topic is
Well,
Alberta
what about now?
Independence.
Maybe this is the heart attack.
All right, cut it out. The next topic is Alberta Independence. I can get this started. Yesterday, Bruce Party got into a very calm confrontation with Corey Morgan, I believe, of the Western Standard. And Corey Morgan took the position that the digital ID that Daniel Smith is introducing is not a big deal. Technically, like to the letter of the law, nothing's really changed. You still, whatever power they had yesterday, they have today. And Bruce Party was making the argument that no, like it starts that way, but it's going to escalate. And then today he got into and same extension of that into another argument with, I think, a legislator and Corey Morgan. And he said, you know, what is it that you guys, why does it with the fascination of conservatives and socialized healthcare? So my question, I guess, to you, Tim, is Alberta Independence losing steam?
Alberta Independence lost steam the moment Danielle started talking nice with Carney. Because it's Danielle that has her foot on the throttle. None of the independents or separatists or resistance or whatever they want to call themselves, none of those organizations and or movements and or societies and or whatever they want to call themselves, none of them have any steam except that which she supplies. Because she has the will of the people, these small organizations do not. And they choose to stay in protest mode or activist mode rather than act like statesmen. Then all they do is bicker and complain, and there are no real solutions. And the idea of them holding a referendum, it's this is same old, right? You're literally using the tools of the enemy, thinking that you can overcome the enemy, but the enemy has hijacked the tools. Right? What's this issue about the question? The referendum has to be a certain question, has to be formed in a certain fashion. That really feels like the Quebec thing twice, where they spent 5 years bitching and complaining about how to frame the question. Well, no, why don't you just ask, do we stay or do we go? Yes or no? Right? So they get caught up in the parliamentarism of it, right? They get caught up in the Westminster behavior. They get all caught up and commoners thinking that they can outclass politicians with international bodies behind them to provide consultation and advice. Good luck. Just ask the question flat out and then stop paying taxes. You want to separate? Stop paying taxes. End of story. Right? But they would want to be Canadian about it. No, if you want to separate, then you want to be not Canadian. Right? It's she they divorce. She keeps his name. Why? Convenience. That's access to, right? And vice versa, you know, when such a thing doesn't happens in the other direction. Why do you do that? Because you want to hang on just in case it's cold outside, right? So you end up with the Quebec problem. There are no actual solutions. They're not the independence movements, the separatist movements, the resistance, et cetera, et cetera. They are nothing without Danielle Steele pushing them. She's not interested in pushing them because she got what she needed.
You're never gonna let that go, huh? That name.
Did I call her Danielle Steele?
Yeah.
I love it. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. And it's because she has effectively maneuvered the general population so that she can say in the same speech, we are Albertans, we are proud Albertans, we manage our resources, we are going to hold it all together, et cetera, et cetera. And then peppered into the speech is how we're doing our part to lead Canada in resource development. We're leading Canada in quality citizens and engagement. We're leading. So she's not going anywhere. She's laying the bed, right? She's she has a very good possibility, strong possibility of stepping into federal politics next election and winning handily. So she just has to decide, is she going to be the next leader of the CPC, right? Or something else, or something else. And to be honest, if she sufficiently keeps Alberta in the back of the bus as far as Canada and development is concerned to satisfy Carney, it wouldn't surprise me if she became the next Liberal leader. Why not? Why not? It's uniparty. It's uniparty. Why not?
I was going to say that Danielle Smith could be a refugee, quadriplegic, lesbian, Muslim, and the left brain dead liberals still wouldn't vote for her. Like, I think that's how much they hate the word
They
conservative.
didn't vote for Carney either. Tell me what's different. Well, no, really, right? When we want to appoint somebody,
Touche.
we appoint them, right? So it has nothing to do with it. So we're beyond giving a shit about the voters, and we being right that upper echelon that actually runs the country, right? The only reason you still get an X is because we're satisfied to do it. That's it. That's it, right? We have to come to the rough understanding. Our citizenship has been not stolen from us. We gave it away. We gave it away thinking that we were playing by the rules and that by being good citizens, conservative, liberal, whatever, that by being good citizens, minding our P's and Q's, keeping our full mouth shut, paying our dues to the tax master, that they would eventually get common sense and remember who they were as citizens themselves and treat us with respect and represent us. No, they will not, because they have not, right? Everybody likes to say Carney was not elected. Well, so what? So what, right? All you effing conservatives out there, 120 seats, the biggest victory in the conservative history, 122 seats, and still lost. And then being very, very Canadian, brag about being second place. Are you kidding me? So
It's
no,
it's a two-party system. That's like basically
a
last
two-party
place.
system, right? And the NDP being like saying, well, if we have to go to the gulag for the greater good, then send us to the gulag, oh dear Stalin. And they did, right? The NDP literally eviscerated themselves for the sake of the liberal, and it's not even the liberal party. It's a Marxist. It's a Marxist. Incantation is the wrong word, but the witchcraft is there. The liberal party is no longer liberal. It's Marxist. It's soft, but it's Marxist. And that shift has happened since Trudeau Jr. Right?
Yeah.
Because right, Carney looked at Poilievre and said, "You wanted to get rid of Trudeau. We got rid of Trudeau. You want to axe the tax? I'll axe the tax." He sits down at a fancy piece of paper and picks up his fancy pen. Goes, "Oh, okay, so it has to be blue ink. Okay, make it official."
All right.
And writes his
Let's
own
slow this
freaking
down.
executive, right? Writes his own freaking executive order. Are you kidding me? And that doesn't exist in Canada.
All right, we got to
Stupid.
slow
And the
this down.
Canadians
Otherwise, I got
bought
to
it,
bring the clipboard and I got to take notes here.
right?
Let's take the last point you mentioned, the carbon tax, axe the tax. Didn't Carney everybody knew he was going to do this. He brought it back
Rebranded it.
under a different name. Yeah.
He rebranded it.
Yeah, this is like if the South brought back slavery and called it something else, like, I don't know,
Indentured servitude.
involuntary employees.
Well, look at the temporary foreign workers and the conditions under which the con job to bring them over here and then end up in, and because it's all caste system and they're lower caste, so they're jammed into an upper caste Canadian employers, right, of a particular cultural background, and those upper caste particular Canadian employers paid for their crossing, paid for their paperwork to do all that, etc. And then they're also their landlords, and they're also their educators, and they're also their employers. That's called indentured servants. That's
Yeah,
called
I think
indentured servants.
there's another word we sometimes use when they're Mexicans that do it. We call it human trafficking.
That's right. Yeah, it's trafficking. Yeah, and we permit it, and we permit it. Right. And then when somebody makes noise about, well, we're gonna send, we'll start sending them all back home, then these employers, who are a lot of them are in their senior years, will pick up their protest banner and say, it's racist, you're racist, you're racist, you're right, you're racist against us because you're preventing us from blah blah blah. They're out there saying to their temporary foreign worker employees, you're going to go to such and such a place, all of you, and you're going to hold the banners. No, you don't have to read English, just do as you're told. And they create a phenomena with these mass protests, and it's the seniors who are behind, believe it or not. It's and other businessmen who are behind because they're taking advantage of them through these subsidies. So they're literally maintaining the caste system in Canada, and you and I are paying for it. So
It's
yeah,
almost like
actually,
it's a form of enchattlement that is more
yes,
direct than our enchattlement.
that's right. Yes, yes, and we are permitting it, and we are permitting. So what this tells me is, even though Canadians, average run-the-mill Canadians, believe, yeah, there's lots of room in Canada, true. There are a lot of opportunities in Canada, true. There's lots of space, true. And we'd really like to help other countries who aren't doing as well, also true. So let's just bring them all over at a rate that completely overwhelms the system. And we can't say no because for the last 10 years, they've been painted as refugees. So, and God forbid a Canadian not be kind to a refugee, except the degree of them that are legitimate refugees is a negligible number.
I was gonna. Here's a question for you: Does Canada really? Do we really have space in Canada? It doesn't feel like it. I mean, like look at downtown Vancouver. Like there's a lot of space, but you can't get to it. I mean, look at Tim Houston in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. So by a lot of space, so Canadians keep thinking of the size of us geographically, and unfortunately, a lot of Canadians think that the the temperature in summer along the 49th parallel is the same temperature as it is at the 60th parallel, and all the parallels in between. Right? Yeah, capacity, right? Or also of a temperate environment as to be of interest to a Canadian year round. Yeah. Yeah, uninhabitable is an appropriate word because there's a reason why we haven't developed it. That actually gets into crown corporation stuff, but there's a reason why we haven't developed it, right?
Why don't
And
we,
that is that
Tim?
we
Let's
have
just.
been. Go ahead.
No, I cut you off. Go ahead.
So you look at our major centers: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, like the top 10 cities, right? And of those top 10 cities, 5 of them are actually, in the southern, the nether regions of southern Ontario. That area, yes, very dense, right? The Calgary Edmonton corridor, well, it's more like a barbell, right? It's only dense on top and on the bottom. And then Vancouver is basically the Fraser Valley down into the Delta region of the Fraser River itself, which only has 2.5 million people. And I say only, but you compare that to almost anywhere else in the world, right? It's really not a whole lot. So, and most of the Canadian arable land is along the border, right? So that's your farmland issues. So you want to be close to your food, you want to be close to your water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So can we develop yeah, so let's like the northwestern Rockies, right? So that
Right.
Prince Rupert Terrace, right? Can we
Oh yeah.
develop it? Yes. Does anybody want to live there? No.
So I wanted to bring this up, and this is what I meant. Like, I understand there's arguments. Like living in the Rockies is a lot harder. If you go north, it could be colder. But
Yep.
look at, and our population is lower.
Yes.
Like, oh, maybe Calgary is a bad example, but I just find that in the U.S., like the way that they build the roads are designed for life, to sustain life. Like you have a
Yes.
city here, you have a city here, you build a
Yes.
road. There's a city here, you build
Yes.
a road.
Yes.
Whereas in Vancouver, it's almost like the king bestows upon you this one road. You mere peasants, you're not allowed to
Yeah.
build anymore.
Yeah.
And there's so
Yeah.
many regulations that
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
even if the Rockies weren't there, you still couldn't develop the land.
Well, see, Canada was Canada was connected by the railway first, and the railway straight lining as much as it could killed dozens and dozens and dozens of small communities by bypassing them in their effort to do a straight line. The map you show to the states, you see it's very much of a web, and it follows along geography more so than the way an architect would want to design it. You go up in the Canada, so you've got that basically straight line for the railways, and then the railways were given ownership of like 100 meters off either side, or et cetera. So this becomes an actual crown land, believe it or not. right? And then so towns and cities are all affected by this. The Trans-Canada Highway is pushed across, like you said. We the crown, are we not merciful? Bequeath upon Canada the Trans-Canada Highway 1. And we're all like, yay, we're unified, yay. And then it's basically everybody along the 49th parallel. You go into, so you've got Calgary, North Edmonton, and then up to Grand Prairie, one road. Then you've got the Fraser Valley, and then up north to Prince George, right? One road, that type of thing. It's by design. It's by design. And unless we were prepared to rebuild our spasms, right, little tiny towns, unless we're prepared to intentionally push traffic into those towns, they're not going to get developed. So particular consultants, particular support groups, particular allies of the people that are coming into the country literally put their money together and look at a politician and say, none of us people are going to live there. Not happening. Here's what you need. Go make sure that happens. And so then what they do, they push them all into the major populations because that's where they want them to be. Trudeau literally said out loud that he was going to take 60% of 1 year's X type particular demographic and put them into Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton on purpose. So it's planning ahead of time who they're going to apply cultural pressure to. Because that's what happens. You're literally applying, and they're not applying it small. The 250,000 people coming in every year. That's insane.
And you know where they're all going, right? The city centers.
They're all going to Surrey.
Well, Surrey, Vancouver,
or
Toronto.
Brampton, right? Surrey, Abbotsford, Brampton, right? So they're going to existing what Andre would call a ghettoized community, and I don't mean ghetto in the bad sense, but that's what it is, right? Long before ghetto became a bad word, it was used in European culture for a long time, and so these and ghettos in Canada, the American ghettos planet-wide are not unheard of because every time a population tends to move into a new region, they'll go and find people sharing their cultural values, sharing their holidays, sharing and you get community groups, community buildings, community centers, and so that all builds up that way. So there is a that creates natural fencing, right? It creates natural fencing, but when that little geocached area of that particular demographic swells to the breaking point and it spills out, well, now it's a problem. But the government is satisfied that it be a problem because they want to agitate. And that's Marxism. Right. So the end goal is we give the appearance of being a merciful government, that we're helping all the impoverished. We're reconnecting families, blah, 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 blah. We're helping
It's just
people
all
who get a
lies,
better
yeah.
education, right? And they're saying all this because us stupid, idiot, passive Canadians who don't have an angry, well, we do, but don't have a tongue in our throat to protest properly. We just say, okay, just be gentle, just be gentle. And meanwhile, they're saying back to us, well, you're going to need to lift your leg a little higher because we're not all the way in.
I was gonna say, it's a lot of our problems. They they have very basic causes, and I think going off of financial responsibility, sound money, and going into this sort of financialized economy, debt, credit card, debit card, that all fueled what's going on in the cities. And this is my opinion now. People living in cities are they're less fiscally responsible than people living out in the rural areas. And
They
they've
can
done
afford to
that.
be.
Well, they can afford to be, but I mean, the entire system is based on being fiscally irresponsible. Like you have to make a shit ton of money so that you can give a plumber or an electrician or a tile setter or a cabinet maker just exorbitant amounts. Like California cabinets in Vancouver, they'll come in and they'll install custom cabinets for you for your walk-in closet. It comes out to be like 45,000. You pay somebody in North Bend, they could do it for like $900. It's like it's almost like a Ponzi scheme. Like as long as you keep money coming in and immediately going out, and they've reached a critical mass in the urban centers. They're controlling the political sphere, and they're trying to move people from the rural areas to the urban centers. And this is a bad idea.
I'm a basic capitalist, and I think that if I want to spend $45,000 for California kitchens and it's my money, then I can do what I want with my money. However, if my income and I'm on I'm retired on disability, right? So my pension, right? I have a disability pension. There that puts a natural ceiling on my what's purchasability is the wrong word, right? That puts a natural ceiling on my ability to spend at all, right? That puts a natural ceiling on it. It allows for certain conversations like what they have in the States with food stamps. Am I allowed to use food stamps to buy alcohol, tobacco, right? To gambling? Am I allowed to? Because technically it's the people's money. So as capitalists, we're social democrats, right? So we're trying to balance, right? We're trying to balance the independent capacity of a citizen to use their publicly derived life or funds, benefits we call them, trying to balance that against a cultural expectation, right? And we're not able to do that. We've proven that we're not able to do that because the checks and balances in our social security system sometimes intentionally allow for failure. Allow for failure. Um, what's a good example? Safe injection sites. 'Cause that's part of our social welfare system. Safe injection sites allow for failure. How do they do that? Because they promote continued addiction. So if I want to spend $42,000 on, on a new set of cabinets and I've earned that money, that's fine. But I don't think that if I'm on the welfare, if I'm on the dole, that I should be able to live drunk, or live unhealthy or live sick because as a citizen, I have an obligation to my country or to those who are at least in part keeping me alive by funding my lifestyle. Incentives matter, yes, and civitas matters. And we don't provide incentives in Canada for those who struggle, health. And I'm not talking about people who are born with a disability or they have a terrible accident or et cetera. I'm not talking about that per se. I'm talking about people who we need to find a way to incentivize. And this is the problem with social democracy. Who sets the bar, right? Where's the red line? Is it okay to be a little bit of a drunk? Or is it when you beaten your child to the point where they're in the hospital? Is that when it's too late? Is that when we cut you off? Because we don't, right? They're the lot of hard questions. But if there was one single thing I would encourage us to do to get out from underneath this, I'd say we need a tax revolt. And they go,
Which
well, how's
brings
that
us
related to safe injections? Well, because it turns
to
off the
what
taps.
Wolf was
Yes,
bringing this up earlier. I
right.
started. Finally,
Yes,
somebody
turn off
else
the
floats the
taps.
idea of actual tax revolt. It
Turn
needs
off the
serious
tap.
support.
Yeah, turn off the tap, right? And that includes me because I'm in receipt of CPP disability, right? So that includes me, and I'm saying it, and I have to say it because that includes me. Is we have to find a way to encourage those who can gain some form of employment or contribution back to society to incentivize them to do so and to bring back a
Cool.
certain degree of civic pride that we want to contribute. And I think these two things are absent from our modern society, and the government knows it, and they're able to use it against us.
So I'm imagining Wolf isn't trying to single you out when he says tax revolt. So if you're a doctor, you make 300,000 a year, and then you give 150,000 to the government. That 150,000 doesn't go to Timothy Knight. It goes to some jackass working at a hospital, a bureaucrat, or it goes to some staffer for Pierre Poilievre. the bureaucracy has got, or people, who are pooping on the beach in Nigeria, and we got to do our part and teach them not to poop on the beach. That's what he's talking about.
This came out of Alberta Independence. So no, of course it won't. Tax revolt won't happen because and I agree with you, it won't happen, and it is old. I agree, right? I agree that, and it won't happen because people won't read Martin Luther King Jr. or they won't act on it. It won't happen because as long as a parent sends their child to bed with a full stomach, they're not going to turn off the government taps. They're not going to stand up to the government. And something, something of a significant cultural crisis is coming. And whether we like it or not, that will force us. Yes. Right. And digital ID now being floated about as an actual plan forward. We've been talking about this on and off for, some people for decades, right? It's not so much that it's digital, it's that eventually it will be programmable. And the programmable problem, that's the issue. Right. So what happens when the government decides that Peyman made too much money last year?
I don't know. They'll just tax me. They'll just take the money.
Right. They'll just take the money. And so my hope is that we somehow push back before that happens. And can you imagine a bunch of conservatives actually counseling the viewership when the man comes to press digital ID into your hand, just take it. Because the other side is unthinkable.
Is that a Mark of the Beast reference?
No, it's not really a Mark of the Beast reference. I have contrarian views on that, even though I have a more or less Christian theological representation. But I think that Mark of the Beast, that's more lifestyle. It's not so much a physical thing. It's more of a looking out for yourself and not being interested in your others, your fellows. It's more of a lifestyle thing than somebody physically tattooing a brand into you that can be read by a reader or whatnot. Life is more nuanced, right? Like, sometimes we sit here and we try to do things in a very binary mood. It's this or it's that, and we're trying to encourage conversation, right? We want Woof to throw stuff in, and we want Tim to make bold statements, and we want to hear, people step in, and because we want to generate conversation, which is the primary purpose of live podcasts, is to generate conversation. How many times do we sit down on a Thursday evening for an hour and go, okay, so these are the three things we're going to talk about tomorrow, and we'll be able to weave them in and out because there's a common thread. But if the guests have anything to add, then we're going to want to include them in the process because they see things we don't, and that adds a lot of value and that adds flavor to the show and provides depth and nuance. So we sit here wanting to engage in a conversation with people some of us may never, ever, ever, ever meet. But then Tim says, I checked out years ago, this just gets old. And because my name is Tim, I'm like, am I typing on someone else's screen?
Like I like that guy. It sounds like a
Right?
smart guy.
I like that guy. My name is Tim and I approve, right? So we have these conversations and we haven't done it quite so much lately because life gets in the way sometimes, but we generally would wrap up a show saying become engaged in your local communities, right? Be- participate in your school library, work with the Boy Scouts or become part of a team, the T-ball team, or participate and be around the teenagers and the youth so that you can be that, that you can maybe provide a stabilizing, energy in that group and then some leadership and without the politicizing that's oftentimes going on in these things, or get involved in your local politics and et cetera. So we encourage these things. And I still think these things are possible, but I also think time is running short. I really do think time is running short, but I'm not going to sit here and say this will happen and this will be this and that'll be that and then 144,000 and the two witnesses. I'm not going to do that, right? What I'm going to say is, really boiling it down is, I have 4 children, right, and two grandchildren, my granddaughter. I've learned that there is nothing else. There is nothing outside of my family that I can take with me. If there's anywhere to go, that's all I can take with me. And if I was honorable in those things, right? If I sacrifice where it was needed and I received their kindness where it was needed, etc., and we support each other and help each other, even though we're not all in the same house, we're not all in the same town, but we give each other that support, then we win. Even though we're going to lose, right? We win because as much as the enemy, quote unquote, is busy trying to destroy the family down to its tiniest, most intersectional point, a strong family will win. Right. So I'm more interested in fighting the demoralization because I think what was about incentive and civic, right? Civic responsibility or civic and that yeah, let's read this. There it is. See, right? So meanwhile, if I was Carney, I would say you this wouldn't have to happen to you because universal basic income would be guaranteed, and you'd be able to do yourself some work at the museum, and you'd be a good citizen, and we liberals would give that to you, right? That's how I would sell it. Civic duty, yes, right? So there's people unite saying, maybe there's even civic duty. I could go and I could actually be productive. I'm 70. I'm not a young bird anymore, but I can go and I can do something and I would actually enjoy it. But I'm not allowed to because clawback, right? Because clawback. People with CPP and other similar benefits are only permitted to work X number of hours a year or a month or so before the government claws back the benefits dollar for dollar, and that makes it unnecessary. That's disincentivizing, disincentivizing, right? It's easier for me to be drunk and half doped up and eating Cheetos than it is for me to be lead a productive lifestyle and contribute to my community. And the government wants me there.
I had a friend, she said to me, Peyman, everything the government touches goes to you know what.
Yeah,
Best advice I ever got. They
yeah, and
literally could mess up a coffee.
yeah, that's right. So the as far we do need an administrative body to manage larger scale affairs. We do. But we need it what's is it John Locke who said it? As little government as we can stomach, right? So to as small as possible. The bureaucratic layer needs to be small. And in this age of computer automation and internet tools and why do we have the bloat that we have when I'll give you an example. I recently completed a website that will actually unify the entire province of a particular association. So 5.7 million people will be able to participate in one platform to communicate with each other. And I built this one person with some advice and some support, et cetera, to unify it and put it online. But once it's online, I only need to plug in maybe 3 or 4 people and it will basically run itself. So in a day where that kind of automation can be done by a single citizen, how much more so by a capable government, right, that has access to qualified individuals to do so. The era of bureaucratic bloat should be way behind us, and it is not. Yes, politicians are a reflection of the constituents because the politicians no, because the constituents believe the bullshit.
I think I agree with Tim, and it's a lot scarier than people think. The citizens elect their leaders. And I know that sounds stupid, but let's take Carney. We didn't vote for him. He was parachuted in, probably some shenanigans, but it wasn't an up and up election. But because we accept it and we're not revolting, we actually endorse him and we brought him in and we support this type of
Yeah,
activity. So
yeah,
it's all on us.
yeah, yeah. See, the when election comes around, pundits like us talk about the word vote, and then we obfuscate it, right? Because we're pundits, right? We make or don't make our nickel off of YouTube by fucking around with words, right? The politicians are a reflection of the constituents. We mess with the word vote. We say, "Oh, I didn't vote for Carney." Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. You absolutely did, right? You absolutely did because by keeping your fool mouth shut you permitted another action to take place. And Canadians are really, really, really good at not talking because I don't want to be a contrarian. I don't want to go against the flow. I trust my gut. I'm starting to sound like a friggin' American.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a Canadian. I know.
Well, that's I don't know. Maybe it's somebody from Lethbridge. I don't know. So
if there's anybody from Lethbridge watching this, please share the channel. We need all the viewers we can
need
get.
all the views we
Share
can.
before you leave and block us.
You don't even have to like us. Just share. I know I'm ranting. I'm ranting because I don't have Andre here to interject and cut me off and talk about the Russian gulags.
You're probably gonna have to go on disability after this. You're doing the job of two people today.
I'm just my back. My back. My back.
Carrying the episode.
My back. The carry me episode.
Let's go to some of the audience members before we go to our main topic, which is not going to be an easy one today. The oligarchs have always acquired their wealth by stealing it from the working class and poor. Fun fact. I mean, the oligarchs, the government at this point, the same thing. They don't really, you know what I was going to say? They don't make any money, but the oligarchs do make money. But the bastards are smart. They don't want to spend their money. They're spending our money.
Well, I've learned something in spite of the fact that I make my benefits are $17,000 a year. That's my disability benefits. In spite of that, I eat, I drive where I want to drive, I go where I want to go, I do pretty much what I want to do. Why? Because influence, right? Because influence, right? A good name is preferred over riches, et cetera, but influence. And what I've learned is when I'm an ass, I have no influence, except people say, he's an ass. Don't spend a nickel on him. It's not worth your time. But when I make an effort to be more honorable and to contribute and to be part of something, people say, he has some value. Let's put some support into that. Right. So I don't need money. I need influence. And in order for, and this is underneath the money layer, right? How can people who don't have access to money, how can they have influence? Be honorable and outspoken. Can't be only one. Be honorable and be outspoken, right? We get the government we tolerate because agents in the market exploit the opportunities available to them, says Wolf. And he's right. So why do we permit these agents to exploit the market? Well, because we don't have capital punishment anymore, right? We have a justice system that can be bought. Right. We have lawyers that will talk you into, yes, we have lawyers that will talk your case for 5 years if you pay them enough and drag it all out. That layer of the system is completely corrupt. Right. So
I just want to mention one thing. If we did have capital punishment, it wouldn't solve the problem. They just start killing us, the low people. There's still no justice.
And
well, no, I mean, like it would be.
Let me be that guy. Get rid of the useless eaters.
That's like killing all the women to get rid of feminism or sexism. Well, feminism, yeah, but sexism.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything we do, we can do to hyperbole. Finding the balance is the hard part, but eventually we're going to have to choose hyperbole.
Let's go to what we got. Another question here from Tim. Oh, another comment. Way too many bureaucrats, and that's 35 years ago. Now we're at 10x that. We beg for more government. One day on X, you can see it. I don't know what the last part means, but
it means on Twitter. You spend 1 day on Twitter and you see how much we're asking for more help from the government. I'm here to help. And he's right. The 1/3 of the adult working population in Canada works in some form of public servant. That includes, the guy taking away, the garbage man. That includes, right, the secretary at town hall. But still, whole third.
You're right. You're right.
Working population.
You're right. It's the adult working population, but another way to look at it, exact same thing. But every one of us are working our asses off to pay one person who really doesn't produce anything.
Yes.
It's like you're in a family and you got that black sheep kid, son, daughter. Everybody else has to work their ass off to pay for that one piece of trash. That's what the Canadian government is like.
Yeah. And And that's hard because I maybe I'm I'm going to be wrong. I am. I'm going to be wrong. One full third of our viewership is in public service.
What is that? 2 people? 1/3?
Like, it's like, well, what the problem with what we've discussed this, and we're not the only ones to talk about it. The reason why it's so easy over the last 10, 15 years, for 10 years, for the government, the Liberal government, to continuously win elections is because the people who vote are the people who need to keep their job in the
Yeah.
public service, right? So all the government in power has to do is to pander specifically to the one who will benefit the most from them returning to the chair. So, yeah, see, now I want to separate.
Like, you could
Ready?
think of it this
Take
way.
it out.
Imagine you have a soup kitchen, or a food bank, and in order to get rid of it, you and I, who are paying for it, we have to get up Sunday morning at 6 a.m., go and protest or just sign a letter. Well, those people that need that food, they're going to wake up on Sunday at 6 a.m. to go say, "Yeah, we're all in. You should keep it going." They're more committed. The same thing with these bureaucrats. It's their livelihood. Heaven
Yeah,
forbid they got to get off their fat asses and go out
yeah,
there and swing a
yeah,
hammer or something.
yeah. And we have a very um complex, comprehensive, whatever you want to say, social welfare system designed across Canada. We can't just turn off the tap because there are citizens who are deserving of those benefits, right? Who are legitimately in need, legitimately qualified, and they are maintaining their civic duty by reporting and sticking to the rule and being good citizens about it. So how do you fix this without a large percentage of a deserving population suffering when you pull the bandage off fast, right? Because if you pull it off slow, that's even worse.
The fix is very easy, but it would cause just a riot in every single city. You go back to property. First of all, you push all of these things down to the city level. I mean, like, sanitation is not a federal or provincial issue. Take it to the city, and then the property owners, the people that own land, units, whatever, they're the ones that have to fund this thing, and they're the ones that have to make a decision. Well, you'd run it like a building, right? Like a strata. Yeah, you don't let the tenants decide when to get a new boiler or whether to put gold on the inside of the elevator. But
Because
you
they don't
just
know.
well, they don't know, they don't own it, and if you're not paying for it, like, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, absolutely! Like, we should have free soda machines here, and pizza should be complimentary for the building." But if you do that, like, imagine going to that Greater Vancouver area and saying, "All right, anybody that doesn't own land here, you no longer have a vote." You're gonna get a revolution.
Ah, it's a Starship Troopers. Right now, you're into Robert Heinlein territory, right?
Great
Where
movie, great
where
movie.
it's right service grants citizenship, and there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot
Mm.
of value in that. That goes straight to civic duty. It goes straight to now. I want to use the word properly, but it's going to come off wrong. To those who right? What's that line? Marx used it, right? From those who can to those who deserve, or something like that,
Let me just remove you from the panel for referencing Marx.
right? So the what you say, if we take things out of the jurisdiction of a federal government, and you remove from certain things from the jurisdiction of a provincial government, or even what we do in BC, right? We have regional bureaucracies, right? The regional health boards and stuff like that manage like 25 towns. We remove that and go right back down to the local municipality. That's the word. Thank you. There is value to that, but the question is who determines those, who determines the each, and who determines abilities, and who determines the needs, right? So this is it's prose. It's prose. It's not actual policy, right? Yeah, reject comment. Localism. There's where the word I'm trying to find. When you talk about property ownership, you bring everything down to local, and so what am I trying to say? City states, city states. But it'd take 100 years to return the entire continent to a place where they're effectively operating as a collection, or a yeah, um
Man, this guy's like a walking thesaurus.
Federated city states, right?
Which is never going to happen. I find this analogy isn't going to work correctly completely, but it's governments are like a black hole, right? So a black hole gains mass and more matter falls into it. Governments get bigger and more rights and money fall into it. They just never get smaller until they fully break apart, and then you got to build from new.
Right.
What I was going to say is somebody was giving a presentation on 15-minute cities, and they were talking about municipalities in Canada, specifically British Columbia. And they said, back in like the 70s, 80s, maybe the 60s, the municipalities were self-sustaining, and they had to be. Like, they had to provide for the electric grid, sanitation, water. Help wasn't coming. So they were on the hook. It kept them responsible, and they got their freedom. Now, all of that, they can lean on to the provinces for assistance, but they don't have a say. And a perfect example of that is zoning. Like, it's completely taken it over in BC. So I wish we could go back to that. I don't know if Canada has the will.
I clipped a snippet off Google News on my phone this morning about the province of BC has ordered Langley to build 62 new homes over the next 2 years.
I heard that, on the radio.
Are you kidding me? Right. So I'm thinking, and it was only, I guess, a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, when the BC government was pressuring Chilliwack, small on the east end of the valley, pressuring them for certain rezoning, when the high density rezoning laws regarding single detached dwellings and whatnot. And the Chilliwack at that time, the municipality said publicly, Mr. Provincial Government, this is our district, this is our authority. You can fuck right off. And all but said, they basically said the provincial government should keep its nose in its own business. And you know how the provincial government responded? Turn off the tap.
What tap? Water, literally, or money?
There are transfers, right? There are provincial to municipal transfers, and the government said, "Well, okay, fine." And about 3 minutes later, the Chilliwack board was on its knees begging for help. Right?
Yeah, that's what happens when you're not. Calvin Coolidge, president, said, "There's nothing more rewarding in a man's life than living within his means. If you're dependent on somebody else, you're not free anymore."
Because it's yours. Right?
Yes.
It's yours.
Okay, what's Wolf saying over here? Here's the fix for the housing crisis: 0 income tax for the first 10 years, the building spree, half taxes for 10 years after that, then back to normal.
So, but if the government's not getting your taxes, how did they pay their cronies to do their dirty work for them? Right? You talked about the black hole, right? The swelling of the bureaucracy. That is when I'm in power, need a certain thing done. I don't want to do it through normal channels, and I have this goal that I've been given that I need to execute and implement that. So I go outside and I find myself an agent who's my cousin once removed by marriage on my mother's side. And so I say, you go and help me do this. And he says, well, I don't have the money to do that. And that's okay. You go and make it happen. And then I'll make sure that there's a spot for you in my government. And that's how you get growth. That's how that's the grift. It's not merely that the existing ones are getting paid and they're pulling money off the top, Meyer Lansky style. It's that they continue to ask for favors from outside and then have to pay them all off, and the government blows up as a result. Yeah, financial alchemy. Was that the anime Full Metal Alchemy, where what they take to produce something in this world is actually drawn away from, pulled out of a parallel world? And we're doing the same thing, except those two worlds is one is the world of our government layer, and the other is the layer of the tax-paying citizen.
I just, for people that don't live in Vancouver, this is why, Wolf, your idea won't work. If we don't pay income tax, how are they going to build $10 million chandeliers under bridges outside? It's your tax dollars at work, gentlemen.
I hope there's no copper on that.
It's crystal. It's all crystal. I'm sure it's mostly gold plated.
It's all crystal.
Yeah. Look at this. This is why you're paying for this shit. They got this crap all over Vancouver. They got this like artistic thing. There's one on Pender and Broughton or Thurlow or some one of those
What about
streets.
the orcas? Remember the orca statues along the city streets and stuff down toward the Davies and in that district?
Doesn't ring a bell, but I mean they got that weird Chinese one on Denman and Davy. Man, if it's your private property and if it's your money and you want to do a public service, you can build it and you can say anybody is welcome to come in my property and take a picture here. But you're taking taxpayer money, $10 million. $10 million. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah. The average citizen, lower middle class, will make about $1.5 million in their entire lifetime.
Could you imagine Wolf growing up like his father? I think he would read him at the Thorist every night before bed. You've just described vampirism, Tim. Agency camperism.
Wolf Relius didn't have a father. He's just always been.
He's existed, yeah, from the beginning of time.
Always been.
Oh. Oh Lord. Now it's castle law or whatever term they're using now. Breaking news, guys. Cut taxes back, make like cheaper, including housing and food. Also completely shutting down immigration and deport. Going back a few years, all the increases in crime, it's ass backwards. We seem to love it like that. I probably botched that as I was reading that, but
no, I think that's Tim, you and I should go into the market and start selling shirts that simply say "Govern me harder, Daddy."
Have you seen that one? Pierre Poilievre came out, and he was talking about basically supporting castle doctrine. That gentleman who got arrested for defense.
Yeah, but he's not supporting it.
Yeah, but I'm just like, oh wow, who's this new guy? I've never seen this before. He's much better than the last guy, Pierre Poilievre. I've never seen this guy.
Pierre who?
Yeah, Pierre who.
And note, he only publicly made a definite statement once, and after that, he started dodging. The reason why is because his handler said, "It's not an election year. Shut your mouth." Right? You know, he's. If we talk about controlled opposition, I think right now he is the single most controlled politician in the history of the country. Every time he opens his mouth, he's in trouble. Right? And
sorry
so,
for the guy.
Right? What? No.
Well, it's gotta suck because they're giving him advice, and he must be like,
he's
"Listen,
getting paid. What does he care? He gets the money. He has the influence, right? He's got what he wanted to get, right? Okay, he's not prime minister, but maybe in 2030 it'll be his turn.
He's only making like $400,000 a year. The poor guy after taxes.
Yeah, okay. But has he ever? When's the last time he paid for gas out of his own pocket?
I don't know. I'm guessing it comes out of our pocket.
That's right. Right. So, okay. So he's making only, $400,000, but he's probably making 3, 4, 5 times that due to his influence and his role.
But the poor guy, he's got to fly around the country first class. He can't even get a private jet. It's the hard knock life.
It's rough. You're right. It's rough. I apologize. I'm speaking out of turn. I'm going to go back to my little hole and keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I'll eat my GMO KD, which is disgusting. Yeah,
it's a tough life he's got.
I'll have nothing and I'll be happy, grateful. Actually, I changed his words. I said, "You'll have nothing and you'll be grateful." Because
change that.
If I was king of the world, I wouldn't want you to be happy. I don't care. I want you to be grateful. And I want you to come to my throne room because it'll be a throne room and it'll be palladium because gold is like yesterday's news. And you'll stand in my throne room and you'll be grateful. And this happy bullshit. What is happy? Be grateful, damn it. Right? Commodus, am I not merciful? I would so wear the shit out of that.
Yeah, you could, and on the back you could say, "Govern me harder, Commodus."
Yeah, well, it would be on the stick. I'm going to govern you harder. Right? So that you don't have to like some in some cultures you have to back out of the throne room, right? You bow and you step backwards because you're not permitted to turn your back to the king. I'd be like, You have to turn your back, and as you go out, all of my ministers have to strike you with the whip on the way out. Just to remind you.
We're not that far off. They do it
Good
indirectly
Lord.
through taxes. The sodomy in Canada is very subtle.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
All right, Tim, we got to get to the major topic, which is this, I don't know, this situation in Europe that's coming to Canada. There's a young girl, I forget her name, but the girl with the knife and the axe, the Queen of Scotland. And Europe is on the verge of like a race war. And I don't want to say anything disparaging, because this is it's a move, it's a legal movement in Canada, but the Dominion Society is sort of bringing it here as well. So I don't know how you want to start this conversation, but I'm going to throw it in your lap.
Well, let me separate those two statements. What is surrounding that young girl's action and what is surrounding this Dominion Society, Daniel Tyree's new upstart loyalist society, are two separate phenomena, right? What she did as a young, scared girl, being left with only to defend herself with what was available and to be as loud and bold and as she possibly could, makes every single individual supporting the Dominion Society look like a bougie piece of shit. I said it. The Dominion Society is ill-informed, unaware of their roots, and unaware of the danger and the road that they're walking down by encouraging a very extremist, polarizing view. And to attach her to that is a mistake. Sorry.
No, it's okay. For the viewers, I'm the one that's attaching her to Dominion Society. I'm trying to be very careful not to put words in Mr. Tyree's mouth.
I will.
I kind of mentioned this to Daniel Tyree, and I think I mentioned it to Greg Wycliffe as well, who's a co-founder of the movement. They are basically low-hanging fruit, and CSIS, once they reach a certain number of members, CSIS is going to go after them hard, and it's going to be very easy to do that. When I was with the PPC, this happened to us a lot. We got attacked. If there's one person that says something that's offside, and they happen to have PPC in their handle, it's almost like the party said it in an official memo, and you get attached to that.
And it is, to a degree, because perception is reality. And so anybody speaking under a brand needs to be aware, right? When you speak under that brand, you are the brand. And the audience has every right to interpret it that way. So what the Dominion Society is trying to accomplish, they must be absolutely aware. This is not a frat. These aren't frat games. You're in a real world now. You need to be mature. You need to be disciplined. You need to be aware that you are going to attract extremists like white on rice. That might have been a better pun than I thought it would be. Right. So,
like a paper plate in a snowstorm.
Like a paper plate in a snowstorm. So Tyree needs to be very, very careful of what voices pick up his brand.
So let's stick with this topic, but Wolf is saying, they are a limited hangout meant to bolster Crown support. Now, I know Crown is not the same as Monarchy, but before getting into the nationalism issue, can you restate your position? You mentioned, Tim, that you support a monarchy, but as it once was, like, what's your view?
I have to. I didn't make the distinction between monarchy and sovereign until I watched what's the name of that small documentary? Canada
Downton
the
Abbey?
Illusion? Canada the Illusion or something like that it was called. I can't remember the title of it now. But as he walked through the different laws and statutes and declarations that were made over British North America up until today, I realized that at some point in time, the sovereign lost their jurisdiction as sovereign, and it was given to or assigned to or usurped by basically the duchy, right? The crown corporation, the crown. And because we're stupid, I can't blame everybody because I was a stupid Canadian. I assumed that the word sovereign and monarch and crown were interchangeable, and they are not. The sovereign is sovereign. The crown is an agency or organization or council or is a separate entity, right? So that, for example, when the queen says we are not amused, she's also kind of sort of regarding to that layer of support, right? So you go to um, that had a court, the court of support around it. But now I see the monarch. The monarch is the monarch is a dashboard Jesus. It has no value, no authority at all, except that which is now assigned to it by this crown corporation. So it's a hood ornament. Sovereign. I'm in favor of a sovereignty. I'm in favor of a familial dynastic sovereignty. The problem is we don't understand. Sorry, how do you maintain a virtuous aristocracy? So that's using Wolf's words, right? How do you maintain a virtuous aristocracy? Once upon a time in very old Europe, and I'm not talking about the Greco-Roman influence, I'm talking more about the Norman, North Germanic, right? The Scandinavian influence of the way the chieftains ran their tribes and ran their cultures. And that influence is more true to this virtuous aristocracy, largely because the king pisses you off, the king and his family are under the wrath of the entire tribe or the entire peoples. And the divine right of kings, quote unquote, was in part, not entirely, more philosophically, but in part upheld by the feudal or the serfdom because they knew that they could say to their landlord, if you don't treat us well, forget us coming to fight your wars. Right? Not going to happen because there wasn't a whole lot of money moving around, but what there was an awful lot of labor. Right? So the king who could not get the support of his landlords because he could not get the support of, right? So all of this was chained together, right? So that hierarchy of the nation was all chained together and required the cooperation of what who was above and who was below. That doesn't exist today because as we've discussed, when one full third of your working population is being greased by or reliant on a government that intentionally takes 60% of your income from the rest of the population, this spirit of cooperation between layers in the culture ceases to exist. So, my take on monarchy is not the culturally understood, but I grew up under that. I grew up believing that the monarchy was right, even though I'm a Newfoundlander of Irish extraction, and then I'll have my own issues with indentured servants and abuses and first night and all of these other cultural things which never happened to me. But I didn't pick any cotton, but here I am angry about cotton, right? So that happens in there. Yeah, there's people making a very interesting comment, right? Is is there a point where small tribal chieftains, small confederate, that was the Six Nations, right? And where they were able to not be so big as to become cumbersome, right? So our era of expansionism, moving into largely unoccupied territories, which is not really quite right, because there were like 10 million native peoples or so living in North America prior to Europe and Asia moving in and discovering it and later conquering it. If we are relatively small in number, then that virtuous order is more likely to happen because one individual is a larger percentage of the population. But here you've got population in Canada, it's 5,000 miles from coast to coast, right? How do you unify that? You don't. So if you don't unify it, how do you manage it? You keep them fighting. And that's where we are.
Tim, a quick question. I never watched that movie, Canada the Myth or the Illusion or whatever the hell it's called. When did they say that the monarch stopped being sovereign? Are we talking about Oliver Cromwell? Is that when the crown kind of emerged?
Statute of Westminster, 1931 or 37. I can't remember. So I have it written down somewhere.
But
So
you get where I'm coming from, right? Like they literally stripped the absolute nature of the monarch in England, and they made him a constitutional monarch, a subordinate to the Parliament. Isn't that the beginning of the Crown?
Okay, so if you're going to do Cromwell, then you have to talk about Charles the First, was it? Which is funny because Charles, right? So where he was, they had the Parliament, and he continued to want to shut down Parliament because they're like, no, we're not going to do that. Well, what I want to go do this, and it's no. And Parliament's like, no, no, we're not going to do that. And the king says, yeah, but I'm the king. I said, yeah, and we're Parliament, so no, we're not going to do that. And eventually, you get into they had out and out civil war over it, and Cromwell rises up out of that, and Cromwell being a right wing religious nut, right, was even more violent than the quote unquote leftists of his time. A king who cannot conquer his own hirelings has no power. Has no power. And Parliament didn't really well, I get it. I'm gonna have to wheel back a bit on that because the parliamentary army was the citizenry. It was the citizenry. So I think, well, let's ask a theoretical. Sorry, audience, I'm running around in circles. Let's ask a theoretical. You have a feudal king, right? And you have a neo-feudal parliament, which is the early stages of industrialization, like 100 years before, right? So you have that early parliament slash capitalism because the guilds are involved in this, and that Charles is taxing the guilds, and so there's this merchant. There is the mercantile. There you go. That's the birth. The mercantile system is being born in here. I knew I'd find it. So you're moving from a feudalistic cultural structure to a mercantile cultural structure, and there the twain shall meet. Right? There's a reason why early kings and early rulers hated the market, right? The marketers hated the tradesmen because they were able to use money to make things happen, and the king had to be a little bit more methodical about that. So when these two powers come together and Parliament is born as an indirect result of the Magna Carta, right? Because now the people demand a voice. And it wasn't this just the people demanding a voice. The Magna Carta was enforced by the ruling class at the time, the duchess and the lords, the landlords, etc. And they're like, King John, you're abusing us. We're kind of tired of it, and we're gonna pick a fight. Come down and pick a fight. And so he went down and fought them because he's king, and he lost. So they forced him to scribble this document down, but it was another 200 years before it really trickled its way down to the commoner. So it's a very long process, right? It's a long, slow process. I don't think a constitutional monarchy works because it's two different modes of government buried under the same territory. It's trying to work the same monitor, same economy, the same code of law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In a monarchy, using the word as if it's sovereign, says this is a capital crime, then it's a capital crime. Right? You go to a judge, and the judge has been told this is a capital crime, and they don't sit down and bicker about the nuance of it. It's a capital crime, right? But in a more capitalist system, you make money off the government or the people by delaying justice.
Right.
Monarchy, right? Monarchy doesn't delay justice. I don't have time because if I piss off and delay justice long enough, the people will kill my son when he comes to take the crown, right? Or you hear about the king is expecting to die or
Sorry,
whatnot, and they
if
have
I
to
can,
steal his child away, right? Hide his child, because that legitimately happened. So
if I can
it's
jump
very
in just to
incompatible.
dumb it down for, well, me. It's
Yeah.
a feedback mechanism. The fact that the commoners can rise up and chop the king's head off, or run him out of town. It's a feedback mechanism for the king in a perfect world to act in the best interests of the commoners. Whereas when you have this invisible oligarchy, which is what the crown is, like you don't even know which way to shoot. You're like, who the hell are we fighting? I still don't know who the enemy is.
Well, Tim pointed out the enemy. The enemy is somebody flying a Canadian flag and an LGBTQ flag in the same truck.
Let me read this
Because
then.
the Carney usurped the intent of the national flag. I'm not referring to Canadian, but a national flag, because he attached the pride of the national flag to the elbows up garbage. And that's a desecration. So $10 says the one driving that truck who's flying the LGBTQ is actually not flying the Canadian flag. He's flying the elbows up, the spirit of elbows up. So once again, the left is changing the language and the right doesn't see it.
I might be reading this wrong, but it says, it says, quick question. Just passed a truck with 2 hockey sticks, one flying a Canadian flag, the other flying a Great Britain flag. So is that the woke right, or what WTF are we calling these ones now?
Okay, so he's by GB, you mean Great Britain, or did I read LGBT from
I
a
believe
typo?
it's Great Britain, but Tim
Great
can
Britain?
clarify. I don't know. I think his question is, so if I understand it, he's like, is this a far left, elbows up, head up their ass
So
liberal, or is this like
we
a
need to
far right
clarify,
wing?
Tim. Is it a Great Britain flag? Because that will change what I said.
I think
So
he
a
means the Great Britain,
Canadian
the red
flag
and the.
and a Great Britain flag, that's solidarity with Great Britain. So that would be conservative right. If it's a Canadian flag with an LGBTQ flag, okay, so you right, not the rainbow. All right, right. Then my interpretation was wrong because all right, yeah.
Sorry, Tim. One follow-up question: is it the Great Britain Union Jack flag, or is it the English red cross on the white background flag?
The tricolor, right, has 3 crosses. That's the
Oh,
Great
really?
British. Yeah,
We'll
so
wait for him to comment.
there are 3 X's each of them is a cross. St. George's cross, St. John's cross, and I can't remember the other one. So there's a red cross, a white cross, and a blue cross. Right. So those represent 3 eras or 3 influences, or I can't remember. I can't remember specifically. If you
That's
see
the
a
flag
Canadian
of
flag
Great
and a
Britain.
Great Britain flag, then that's solidarity. But if you see a Canadian flag with a LGB flag, that's woke.
But there's a flag of England, right? The red and white.
That's
Am I getting
St.
my
George's,
flags?
isn't it? Is that St. George's flag?
This guy.
Flag of England. Yeah. See, I'm
This,
referring to the United Kingdom, the tricolor
yeah, this guy on the right.
in the middle,
Yeah, that one.
the, the blue
Isn't that the
background.
Union Jack?
The blue background one, that's a Union Jack.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if they're flying flag of England, that's old. That's an old reference.
But have you taking it back to the racial division in the UK? Have you seen this? They're putting out the flag of England. It's kind of like what they're doing here with the red ensign flag. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's a response to the mismanagement by the leadership class by bringing in millions of people against the wishes of their own citizenry, and now you got racial division, and now they're going to bring in the cops. That, by the way, are probably immigrants anyway.
Yeah. 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 I think I saw a picture of police officers taking a flag down from a pole. And I'm thinking, when did it become your job to do that? You know,
Your
because they're
tax
certainly
dollars.
not doing anything about grooming, but they'll come and take your flag down.
It's clown world, yeah.
We are in so much trouble.
So I wanted to add one last thing about the Dominion Society. I think again, I after everything I've gone through the last few years, I don't get emotional about anything anymore. I basically am dead inside. So
Dead inside.
I'm looking at the Dominion Society in an objective manner. They're going to have two. They're going to attract two types of people. One are the people, let's say 18 to 30, male, white, can't get a job, no future, they're angry. So that they're going to attract that. But I think there's going to be another legitimate side, these people that are nationalists. And I don't really fall into this camp, but these are the people that believe we need to keep the CBC, we need to reform it, and we need to use it to teach people about the Red Ensign, to teach people about Christianity. And there's some value in that. We need to keep the Bank of Canada. We need to use it to fund infrastructure projects. And I think those are the two camps that they're going to try to pull. But I believe the former is going to cause their downfall because of the CSIS and RCMP.
What he said.
Damn it, where's Andre when you need him?
Hey, I've completely dominated this episode. I had to let you have like 2 minutes.
Fine.
And when Andre comes back, I won't be able to dominate, so I have to do it now.
Yeah, get your comments in. I can give you another 15 minutes. Just get a rant in there.
No, we're at 90 minutes. Yeah, it's you said it months ago. Hug your children.
Doesn't sound like something I would say.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you were drunk. I don't know. You
No,
you did
that
admit
sounds
to
like
being a
me.
day drinker. You have admitted to being a day drinker. So maybe.
Well, I mean, it's 10 a.m. somewhere in the world, so it's
Right?
okay to drink at 7 a.m.
Qualifies. Yeah, I haven't had a drink in 22 years, but I totally understand.
Yeah, I always tell
Last
people I'm on the wagon, and they're like, "How many years have you been sober?" And I'm like, 8 hours. Never get
sounds
old.
like that sounds like my 20s. Yes, Americans own a lot of guns. You can hunt a lot of deer with a lot of guns. Yeah.
All right. Well,
The one of the speakers, the junior investor fella who spoke at the Capitalism and Morality, talked about his experience hunting and how he had a near primal transformation through the experience, and that having felt, now grant you're using a firearm, so it's not the same as chasing it down with a buck knife, right? So, and don't get me wrong, I actually knew a fella in Whitehorse who hunted a wolf with a buck knife and killed it. I don't know who the animal is in that picture, but yeah. So they're
oh, I see.
for this speaker to hunt his first deer and to have that amazing transformation. He was American. Americans own a lot of guns. Yeah.
There was a joke. I saw this meme. They said like the best weapons to use to hunt a deer. I don't know my guns, but this
In
was like a
Canada?
handgun. No, just in America, but it was like a handgun, and then after that it was a shotgun. After that it was a rifle. After that it was a Dodge Ram at 3 a.m.
It is, it's right. In Canada, the best weapon to hunt deer is a Dodge Ram at 3 a.m. Yeah. And once upon a time, you ate what you killed. So, throw it in the back and drive home. Everybody had a cousin who could skin a deer.
Well, yeah, like in my old house in West Vancouver, they had like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of room with that pulley system and the hook and the rope.
It's called a slaughterhouse.
Yeah. I'm assuming they used it for animals. Who knows?
It's West Vancouver. You're sure about this? Yeah.
All right. Well, let's end it. We will be back next week. Hopefully, we will have Mr. Maloche. He's going to have some interesting things from a conference he was at.
Yes.
And Tim, I'm sorry, but you will not be afforded the same latitude in pursuing your rants next week.
No, that's okay. I think I got about 3 times as much done in now. So, I mean, while technically it's the both of us doing 50-50, you still sat there as a host and let me rant. So now you know, you let the Irishman talk, you won't get a word in.
Live and learn.
You've been warned.
Yeah.
It's been a year, aren't we? What is this? September. When was our first episode? September 10? We did it as it was you wanted to lead up to the BC election.
I went to the police station yesterday. Don't ask why, and I had to sign some documents. And the lady's like, "Yeah, you just get." I don't want to talk about it. It's like sign and date here, and I like, what's the date? She's like, whatever it is, August 29th. I'm like, what's the year? And she's like, really, really?
Just mark your X here, sir.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next week, Tim.
Be good to each other.
Hug your children.
Whatever you do, apparently. Be good to each other.
That's something that I've been known to say. Hug your children.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go to have my nap.
All right, guys.
What's this Dominion Society thing? No, it's too late. Next episode.
You wait
This is the
until the end
cliffhanger.
of the episode?
This is the cliffhanger. Yeah, wait till
Yeah.
the end. All right.
Tune in next week. See you
Yeah.
guys later.
Google Daniel Tyree. You'll find it.
Bye, guys.
There's his free plug. He gets one free plug from me.
All right. We're out of here. See you guys later.
All right.